whenitwascool.com.
Hey, you know any Weird Al Yankovic?
Oh, eat it! Yeah!
Your source for retro pop culture fun.
Imagine a party thrown by Motley Crue with a bunch of guys who rode crew wearing J. Crew.
Hit that Patreon button for premium content.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to First, our podcast series where we discussed the first of comic books, first appearances, first issues, first episodes of retro pop culture TV shows, much, much more. And today we're going with a combination, the first comic book appearance of a movie franchise, Star Wars, by Marvel Comics issue 1. Now, this was a extremely popular comic book back in the day. Throughout my time in school, everybody was searching out the issues of Star Wars, especially the first few issues, which told the story of the movie which came out, A New Hope, as it was later called, Star Wars, 1977, The Adventures of Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Darth Vader, Ben Kenobi, Obi-Wan Kenobi, R2-D2, C-3PO, all of that. Action figures came out in early 1978, totally revolutionized the toy business as well. The comic book was very successful, especially as a licensed property. It ran for a long, long time, and the first, I remember it was 4 or 6 issues of Star Wars by Marvel Comics. They covered the movie, but it's interesting in that it's from pre-production work, before the movie was actually out in theaters and the final changes. So you end up with, like in issue 1, several page sequence that wasn't even in the movies. It was the cut scene between Luke Skywalker and Biggs, discussing, getting off Tatooine and joining the rebellion, and that never took place in the movies. It was cut. You can watch it. I mean, the footage exists, but it wasn't included in the movie. And I always felt it should be. They went back and put the Han Solo Jabba the Hutt scene, and it's in the comic as well, using the human model for Jabba the Hutt. Very interesting stuff here. So you get a few things that are different. The likenesses are not quite there. Luke is older, meaner, and heavier than he really should be. Obi-Wan Kenobi, they kind of got right. Princess Leia, her whole looks all over the place. Han Solo, his looks all over the place. Chewbacca looks very weird. Darth Vader, his costume changes sometimes panel to panel. It's like it's close, but it's off. Like it's just in an alternate universe somewhere. This was Star Wars. And for the first fabulous issues, it says on the cover, enter Luke Skywalker. Will he save the galaxy or destroy it? We have a couple of TIE fighters, X-Wing fighter on the cover. Luke Skywalker's front and center. Everybody has a red lightsaber at this point in time. Doesn't matter. Han Solo not wearing his iconic jacket on the cover. Princess Leia with totally wrong colored hair. Obi-Wan Kenobi looks like himself, but Darth Vader is green and definitely a different look to him there. When you click over, this was cover dated, by the way, July 1977, so it was clearly working off an early version of the script. You get the famous scene that rolled right out of Rogue One into A New Hope of Darth Vader chasing down the stolen plans to the Death Star, and he boards a ship with the plans on there. The battle is much more graphic in the comic. The stormtroopers are literally, a stormtrooper blows a guy's head off, like vaporizes it. The firefight's much more intense. Of course, C-3PO and R2-D2 are scrambling to get away. Luke Skywalker watching this through his binoculars on Tatooine. Darth Vader comes in, and of course, we get the first scene of, where are the tapes? The dialogue's a little different. In the comic book, Darth Vader says, "Where's the data you intercepted?" And he says, "We're on a diplomatic mission." And so the words next are different than in the movie. He says, "Liar, those are Where are those information tapes? This ship carries the crest of Alderaan. Is any of the royal family on board? And Vader realizes he kills the dude in amongst questioning him, and then he gives the famous, find the passengers, I want them alive, and the stormtroopers go out to try to round up. They find, of course, C-3PO, R2-D2 escape in a hatch, in a pod, after getting the data, the tapes from Princess Leia. She inserts them in R2-D2. They escape. Leia is taken captor, although in the movie it's a lot less violently. In the movie, a very different visual effect stuns her. Set your weapons to stun. Looks very different than the just straight up laser blast. But here in the comic, she gets full on hit in the shoulder by a laser blast. They call it a paralysis ray. And she is then stunned. And so that's different. Then we go into the whole scene, and it's multiple pages here in the comic between Luke Skywalker and his friend Biggs. And so since there is a version of this that, was eventually cut from the theatrical release, but however they wrote this comic, they had access to it. It says, while on Tatooine at the city of Anchorhead, Luke says, I told you kids, or somebody says, I told you kids to slow down as Luke comes speeding in on a speeder, goes to a bar, he meets up with Biggs. They discuss, he says, of course I got it. Signed aboard the Rand Ecliptic last week. He got promoted. He says, I'm first mate Biggs Darklighter at your service. I just came back to say goodbye to all you unfortunate landlocked simpletons. He says, Luke says, wait, I almost forgot. There's a battle going on right here in our system. Come and look. And he encourages him to come up. He hands him the Biggs, the binoculars. He looks. He says, that's no battle, hotshot. They're just sitting there. Probably a freighter tanker refueling. And Luke says, but there was a lot of firing earlier. And we know that was, of course, the case because the two droids have been launched and are now on Tatooine. Darth Vader sends out parties looking for him. Of course, as we know, R2-D2 gets captured by the Jawas and taken aboard their big tank, giant sand crawler thing. And then we get even more from Biggs and Luke, like another whole page is dedicated to their conversation. So in the original script and movie, the Biggs-Luke Skywalker conversation was much more substantial, and I really wish they would have left this in the movie, especially the special versions that they released later. That's the ones we have today, where they actually added other stuff to it. They should have left this in. We then get the famous, I find your lack of faith disturbing scene from the room where Darth Vader and Grand Moff Tarkin enter, talking about disbanding the Senate. The conversation goes pretty much as in the movie. Vader force chokes the one admiral there and makes an example out of him. We flash back to Tatooine, pick up the story of C-3PO and R2-D2 again. And ultimately, of course, they're taken to the farm where they are sold. Now, R2-D2 should very well know who Luke Skywalker is. He accompanied Obi-Wan on mission, has seen him before. He knows all of them. Here's the thing, the spoiler alert about Star Wars, the biggest plot hole of all is R2-D2 should know every bit of this. To our knowledge, he never had his memory wiped like C-3PO. Now, we understand why C-3PO may not remember that cringe Darth Vader made him as a child. That's stupid writing, but nevertheless, he don't remember because he had his memory wiped there at the end of the prequels. But R2-D2 met no such fate. He should know all these people, not the least of which he should know Obi-Wan Kenobi, but pretends not to. You just got to, by whatever means necessary, you just got to kind of make this fit inside your own head canon, because if you think about it too much, it doesn't make a lot of sense. We know R2-D2, of course, escapes, goes on the run, and Luke has to go chase after him. Unfortunately, this made up about 4 pages worth of dialogue in this comic. It really slowed it down a lot. And issue number 1 of the Star Wars series concludes with Luke finding C-3PO and R2-D2 in the desert and then being confronted by the Tusken Raiders, the Sand People. The attack plays out a little differently than in the movies. Basically, in the movies, Luke Skywalker's looking through the binoculars at the banthas ridden by the Sand People, and then one pops up right in front of him and knocks him out. The fight's a little more than that in the comic. The first blow is actually parlayed by Luke Skywalker. He deflects it. And the second one knocks him out, or knocks him down, knocks C-3PO over, of course, damaging him. And then the issue ends on a cliffhanger of a sand person drawn back, about to hit Luke Skywalker in the head as he cowers in fear there. He's about to be saved by Ben Kenobi. And the final panel says, "And now the sinister raider towers above the terrified boy, laughing his horrible inhuman laugh, his dreaded axe blade poised to kill." Well, that would have ended the movies pretty quickly right there, so glad that didn't happen. But that is issue 1 of Star Wars, and this was the debut of Star Wars in comics. Over the years, multiple companies have had the license for Star Wars. The most notable are Dark Horse Comics. For a long, long time, a lot of the extended or expanded universe, the Legends stuff takes place in the pages of Dark Horse Comics, but the Marvel as well. And once they get past the script for the first movie, they go into their own stories. Star Wars moves into his own continuity. He's got a giant green rabbit in there and everything else, not knowing that Star Wars was going to have a sequel. It did, of course, with Empire Strikes Back, and it had also in the pages of the Star Wars story a early script. There's some differences in it as well. Return of the Jedi was kept separate from the regular series, but it marked a very distinct turn in the story. The story had a way different tone as the writers of the Star Wars comic book learned the film fate of these characters. And so they could no longer just go with their own flow, so to speak, in how they wanted to do it. So very interesting. To me, the Star Wars, the Marvel Comics Star Wars 1970 series is not really that interesting. I mean, there's a few storylines in there that are okay, maybe worth time reading. But to me, it's the interpretation, the early scripts of Star Wars and also The Empire Strikes Back, where it shines strongest, because you get these little Easter eggs that aren't in the film, but in the early script. Of course, like I said, Jabba the Hutt makes his appearance. Later, he was CGI'd into the film, but originally they used a person dressed up to converse with Han Solo by the Millennium Falcon. That is drawn into the comic. When we get to Empire Strikes Back, Yoda looks different. It's very cool stuff, really. If you're a real, true, deep Star Wars fan, want more Star Wars, especially the older original Star Wars stuff, then I would definitely suggest checking out the movie adaptation portions of Marvel Comics Star Wars. This is well worth the time. Some fun, cool stuff. It makes you say, what if? What if the movie films had included this stuff, which I wish they would. I've watched probably 90% of the deleted film footage from all the different movies. And in these days and age where this stuff is on Disney streaming, I don't see why you wouldn't add that stuff back in. Dressed up a little bit, and we know Star Wars likes to go back to the well time and time again, gets as much mileage out of these movies as they can. Well, this one is one obvious one they're leaving off the table. I mean, we had the special editions which added footage and did take some of this deleted footage, like the one I mentioned with Jabba the Hutt, CGI'd it, and entered that in there, and there was some other stuff here and there. But all this, there are 2 or 3 very well-known deleted clips. Luke Skywalker building his lightsaber. Later on, Darth Vader confronting the Emperor's guard. Stuff like that would have been really cool left in. The Biggs Dark Lighter conversation with Luke Skywalker, I think, would have helped shore the story up a little bit more. And there's quite a bit of stuff in the prequels that honestly would have made it better had they included that as well. Well, thank you very much. This is First. Hope you enjoy this series. We continue to look at more first, not just in comic books, but in pop culture as well. And I will see you back here again soon with a new show.
WhenItWasCool.com is your source for the best in retro pop culture. When It Was Cool features articles and podcasts on retro TV and movies, toys, action figures, pro wrestling, food, video games, and more. Hit the Patreon button to support us and get instant access to hundreds of premium podcasts and features. Family friendly and fun. WhenItWasCool.com.